Yes, it do. We do got the city, the 216 Sports Network, and that's where we bring you the Straub Bros Sports Show once again this week with Rico McGee of the Rulers Minute. Rico, thank you for coming along again with us to talk some NCAA brackets to see how we're doing. Appreciate that.
As always, man. I see you girls doing their thing. Yeah, I see those things.
Listen,
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about it. We're gonna get to that, but yes, shout out to my Irish girls. They are kicking butt right now. Drew, little bro, how you doing, bro?
Dude, I'm doing good. I got the fresh cut today.
Ooh.
I got the fresh beard trim today.
Yeah.
We're feeling good. We're looking good. I am ready.
You got your full, I don't even know exactly what to call it because I'm just jealous because you have hair. So everything that is about to come out of my mouth is just straight being a hater. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, you looking good, kid. But welcome to the Straub Bros Sports Show here on the 216 Sports Network. You can find us on Facebook. Please like and follow us there. You can find us on YouTube. Like and subscribe there to find us and the rest of the 216 Sports lineup. That would be 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth, the Jay Rich Show, which Jay just dropped a new pod and some behind the scene clips too, talking about the Cavaliers. So go check Jay Rich out. Obviously, we have on with us today Rico McGee of the Rulers Minute, bringing you everything that you need to know about sports, any sport. And also giving you some behind the scenes, some press conferences, some coverages of your college basketball and college football as well. Outside Interference with Mel. Mel just dropped an episode of Outside Interference 2. Go check that out. There was a couple great interviews on that. And the one that you're checking out right now, the Straub Bros Sports Show, Big Bro Ken, Little Bro Drew. You can find us all over, all on the socials, on TikTok, at the SBSS. Our last one up that we have with Rico dropped us having some fun with the South Carolina women went up. Currently our biggest one to date. So shout out to Rico for that love too, giving us that push, giving us the rub, they call it in the wrestling business. Pause. We're also on Twitter, now X, at Straub Bros Sports. You can find all kinds of stuff from the both of us. Obviously my Mac stuff was there, covering some of the games, talking about some soccer. Little bro was watching the Houston game and absolutely having a fit on that as well. Shout out to my speaker for just turning off. And you can find us on Spotify at Straub Bros Sports, where you can catch up on everything there. Before we get into anything sports related and we have a lot of fun, Mom put it up and she gave us a shout out and she gave welcome to Rico. But yeah, man, prayers out to Baltimore. Awful scenes with the bridge collapse there. I haven't updated myself on what is currently going on. I haven't brought myself to do that yet. I apologize. Just bad, but our thoughts and prayers are out to everybody out there. We hope that there is some hope there to find. But crazy situation there. So definitely have to start there before we get into any of the sports stuff. And then Mom came back again. Mom switching platforms on us. Appreciate you, Mom, all over the place, giving some love. All right, so without further ado, what we're gonna do real quick is we brought Rico in. Rico's gonna talk brackets with us, and then when Rico's gone, me and Straub are gonna touch on some news. We're gonna touch on some Guardians baseball, and then we're gonna touch on the footy. We're gonna kick around some footy. I don't think that makes any sense, but it's all right. So first things first, though, like I said, we are gonna start with the NCAA bracket update. But first, but first, we're gonna start with the girls, the women. You're not girls, the grown women. I want to give a complete shout out first to the women. Another significant increase in viewership, a record number of brackets filled out. It's amazing. Shout out to all the women of college basketball, not just Caitlin Clark, although we love some Caitlin Clark on here, but I love me some Angel Reese, Juju Watkins, Paige Buckner's went off last night, went bananas. And so did Daisha Flair. Right back with her, just battled the whole game too. Who's also fourth. I think it's fourth on the all-time scoring list now as well. And Hannah Hidalgo. We'll talk about that later. But fellas, as we get into the bracket, and Drew, you can go ahead and do what you need to do with the bracket. All right, there we go. Appreciate that. A lot of chalk. A lot of chalk as we expected. No real major upset. South Carolina is putting the work on people as they did in the regular season. Angel Reese and LSU had a first round scare against Rice, and then they beat the brakes off of Middle Tennessee. I guess our one upset would be Duke upsetting Ohio State. At least that's on my bracket as a big update. Rico McGee, your thoughts so far on overall on this women NCAA tournament?
Well, the tournament's going as expected for a few teams. Kind of knew LSU and UCLA would link up at some point in the tournament, and I'll tell you who my dark horse was. It was initially Iowa State, and I thought they was going to get past Stanford because I thought they were going to go on a run because of what Audie Crooks did and that comeback victory. They were down 22. I believe it was, who was the team? I forgot the team. They were down 22, but they ended up coming from behind after a 40-point performance from their big woman, Audie Crooks. Moment of the tournament thus far. Not surprised that Duke upset Ohio State. I actually thought Ohio State would get past Duke, but would fall to UConn. That obviously didn't happen, but I'm not surprised because I don't know what it is, but the NCAA tournament has really not been kind to Ohio State, especially the women over the last few years. So not really surprised that Duke beat Ohio State. I'm not surprised that they're going to meet up with UConn. I don't think they're going to get past UConn. That's really it. I'm really not too much surprised. I expected everything to go pretty much how it's going right now.
No, I get you there. Straub, give me, yes, your thoughts so far, but who, now that we've watched everyone play, and then I will throw this back to Rico too, who can beat South Carolina? But give me your thoughts so far as well.
Yeah, so I will say, like Rico said, this has been pretty standard. Unfortunately, my Fairfield pick and my Green Bay pick both crashed and burned and did not go anywhere, but that's perfectly okay.
I got to do it. That is karma at the NCAA for not putting in Cleveland State. I'm sorry, Green Bay, that you got caught in.
Fair enough. But yeah, the big three in Albany too, region of Iowa, LSU, and UCLA are in it. Notre Dame is continuing playing like it should, even without one of their star players. USC, which we kind of, disregarded a little bit when we were doing this bracket, has really come on strong and proving why it's the 1 seed and not just a week 1 seed. But if you're talking about South Carolina and who has the chance to beat them, which is hard because their margin of victory over the first 2 games has been 50 points apiece, I think you have to look in their own bracket. I think you have to look, and Ken's going to like this, a little team at the bottom of their region in Notre Dame. Because if you look, a very convincing win over Kent State, a pretty good Kent State team, and then another good win against Ole Miss. If they can get past that Oregon State team, that game is going to be fireworks and a must-watch game going to a Final Four position.
All right, fine. So you brought it up, so I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to throw it back over to Rico. Yeah, my Irish. And I have to double check my bracket, but I think I second guessed myself because of the injury, and I think I may have taken Oregon State just for the purposes of the bracket. But I got to give a shout out because they held Ole Miss to a single-digit quarter. So we're gonna give that shout out. Hannah went for 19, 4-4, but Maddie Westbeld 20-5, Sonia Citron 17-10. Here's this is the concern for me. So this is analysis hat off, Homer hat on. They played an 8-girl rotation and 2 bench points. So if this big 3 can carry this for the next 4 or 5 games, fine. Notre Dame can make that run, but somebody else is going to have to step up and make some shots if the girls are going to make a really, really deep run, in my opinion. This Oregon State game makes me nervous, very, very much so. But if they play like that and they play defense like that, we're gonna see South Carolina and we're gonna give them a game. So Rico, other than if you agree with Notre Dame, roll with us. But who else do you think? Who has the best chance to dethrone or to knock off South Carolina?
Honestly, possibly Indiana. And they play Indiana in the Sweet 16. Actually, the 29th, they play each other. I think the way they came out and they knocked off a very good Oklahoma team, and that was a tightly contested matchup for pretty much 3/4 of that game before they ended up pulling away. I think Indiana can probably be the ones to surprise everybody and get the victory over South Carolina if it comes down to it. Notre Dame, like I said, is another team. If they wind up meeting and if the stars align and the two end up meeting, South Carolina showed moments of weakness throughout the regular season that, hey, we can expose this weakness and we can continue to attack this and exploit this. So you can't sleep on Notre Dame either. I think, between Indiana or Notre Dame, both teams have a shot to beat South Carolina, in my opinion.
I don't disagree with you. I think at some point, and this is because we're humans, so not only are we humans, but they're college humans. At some point, they've got to have a bad game, right? Right? until we're not clipping any of this because it's a horrible prediction on all of our parts. But I kind of agree. I want to ask a question on this side of the bracket though, real quick. LSU and UCLA. Is LSU, and I know it was a rocky start. Are they rolling enough now, or is there a chance here?
UCLA probably would have the best chance to knock off LSU in that bracket. I wouldn't be surprised if UCLA did win, but I don't think. I think LSU could be a matchup nightmare for UCLA, especially with Angel Reese down low, and she's physical and she's tough.
And the SEC Player of the Year,
and the SEC Player of the Year. We all know how the SEC is. I don't care if it's football, basketball. Hell, they might hit you in the head in golf. But give me LSU over UCLA.
And I'm gonna give Nick a shout out because Nick's been riding with the UCLA women since midseason. The way I've been riding with my Irish, and the way I've talked about Caitlin Clark and some of the best players. So I got to give Nick that one. So yeah, definitely, it's gonna be a good game. I can't wait for that one. Colorado and Iowa too. Got to give a shout out. Iowa and West Virginia played a great game last night. West Virginia came to play. I'm gonna address something real quick, and I'm gonna try not to get in trouble with my brother for bringing up things we're not supposed to. But Iowa did not look good minus Caitlin Clark. So Caitlin Clark bailed them out of that game last night. Number one, America, do better. The comment sections on a Caitlin Clark post, and then the comment section on a Angel Reese post is the absolute worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Do better and just love both of these girls because they're awesome. They are amazing, and they are both going to do great in the WNBA. No, is Caitlin going to probably put up 45 a night? No, but it's okay. But they're going to be great pros. I'm tired of it. Yeah, there was some calls, but you know what? And this is my only thing. And I'm not saying that there weren't calls. We're just not used to this in women's basketball. We would not be complaining if when this was Jimmer Fredette or JJ Redick, or when it was Ben Simmons, or I'm about to start naming really old college basketball players because I don't know any of the newer ones because none of them went to college. John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins, when they were, we didn't care when those guys got great calls, although none of them were really we haven't had a really great college superstar on the male side in a long time because everybody's leaving. But when we do, they get calls too. So I don't want to hear it. Angel Reese gets calls. Hannah gets calls. Juju gets calls. Paige gets calls. They all get calls. The good ones get calls. So, but there was a couple. I'm not going to All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I ranted for a
No,
second. My bad.
no, and I mean, yeah, I think the ending free throw line was like 25-5 in favor of Iowa, but sometimes that happens. I can't, you can't say that all of that was, bad calls or lucky calls. There were
Can I help
definite
fix
ones.
that? Can I help fix that? NCAA tournament. The women are now big enough. Stop playing these games at home on home courts.
Yeah,
That's a massive reason. Like you got to be able to give it just separate into
none of these calls. I mean, we would complain about these calls, but we wouldn't care as much. Come on, this is big time. These games cannot be on home courts. You've got to find neutral site. And you not saying you can't pick, because there are obviously, like, Gonzaga is a home court on the men's side or on the women's side. So, like, I get that. I'm just, come on.
Yeah,
let's do better there.
I agree 100. I agree.
Okay. Go ahead. My bad. Anything else on the women's tournament, Drew? On the women's side?
would say because we were talking about LSU, UCLA.
Yes.
Well, I think LSU, if they can play a full four quarters of their brand of basketball, I think it's a good win. It'll be a gritty win. But listen, they were struggling against Middle Tennessee in the first couple a little bit. And then Haley Van Lith ended up getting benched in that game.
The girl got benched.
And so if you start off slow against that UCLA team, it is going to be very, very difficult to climb out of a hole.
Yep.
Especially with that kind of defense. So if they can play 4 good quarters, it'll be a good game, and I think they pull it out. But if they start off slow, it's going to be really tough for them.
100. I agree. Rico.
I agree with Drew. I think for LSU to give themselves a chance to win, they got to come out strong. They got to come out strong. They got to attack that defense, especially down low. Got to attack them in the post. You don't do that, and you give UCLA a second chance in life, you may not win that game. This is a must-win. This is a must-win game for LSU, because I think they'll get past Iowa. That's just my humble opinion.
Okay. Wow. All right. I like it. I am not as high on Iowa as I was at the beginning of this tournament. Like, they were playing better as a team. And then it kind of seems like, and I'll be honest, this isn't a Caitlin Clark promotional piece. It seems like she's the only kind of person ready for the moment right now. Yes, there was a couple of the girls who made some good plays, but it kind of doesn't. She's the only one kind of out there who's like, yo, we're good. We got this. And you can only carry that so much now in college basketball. You need some help. I did want to bring up this side of the bracket just real quick before we do jump into the men's side. This was supposed to kind of be a tougher, a kind of a toss-up side here, where it kind of now looks like, and I love what Paige Buckner's in UConn did last night, and she looked great. But even with Duke, South Carolina is kind of looking like it's a little sweeter to come out of this side. If Duke can continue this, and I know Rico loves Duke, and I love UConn, but they're gonna beat each other up, and then I don't see Baylor being having as big of a chance against SC. So I see SC cruising into whoever wins Duke and UConn.
I could see that. I really could.
Okay. All right. So now that we got the women out of the way, absolutely killing it. Oh yeah, our NCAA bracket for the men. Did you put that up? You got to put the men up first there.
You want to put the men up first?
Yeah, since we just talked. Or no, my bad.
The women
first.
Also, yeah, I have a question. Who is King Swag 35, Ken? Because he's apparently killing it in the bracket.
Do me a favor, go full screen. King Swagger 35. I want to give a shout out to Bedford High School. Our CAD class, our AutoCAD class, we would have a lot of projects to do, but in between doing those projects, we would have a lot of free time and downtime. So we did a lot of fantasy football, and that's where I created my ESPN account way back in the day. So shout out to that in my original Xbox gamer tag, King Swagger 35. And yes, put that back up. That's who is on top of the board there. My bracket is at 97%. I checked it. However, I am going to give a shout out to my little bro's good friend there at the bottom, Tim Dawson, 1,800 potential points. I would be technically second to last right now if my potential points were good, and that is because I 100% for now. I'm talking all of the smack I can. It's probably the last week of me being in first because I think I have my Irish losing. I thought I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I thought it was going to be tougher. But now I'm regretting it. So yeah, I won't tell you that another time from this. So you better clip that now, Straub. But yes, so there it is. I also got to give a shout out to Ray, my guy Ray, Day One Ruckus. That's who's there. They're in there too. I do not know the other people. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know all of your names in there.
ESPN bunch of numbers, baby.
Right, ESPN bunch of numbers. A shout out to you as well. So that is your women's side. Now let's shoot over to the men. And we talk about it, and it's the thing that everybody says happens with the women. But you want to talk about some chalk? How much? All 4 number 1 seeds have advanced. All 4 number 2 seeds have advanced. 2 number 3 seeds, 2 number 4 seeds, leaving 5-seeded Gonzaga, 6-seeded Clemson, and only 11-seed NC State as your lone outside seed. Fellas, chalk. LeBron at the scorer's table pregame chalk. Yokozuna back in the day chalk. Like, this is as chalk as it gets. No?
Yeah.
Rico, my bad. Go ahead.
I think my Final Four prediction is no, it's not. No, it's not. Because I had Tennessee in the Final Four, and I don't think they're in the Sweet 16. Yeah, my bracket was chalk from day one. First of all, I stuck with Akron because I really was high on Enrique Freeman. I thought they were gonna come in with a lot of energy, especially after that grinded out win over Kent State in the MAC championship. So I had them going at least to the second round. Then I realized Creighton has one of the most explosive offenses in the country, and when they get to shooting lights out, it's like the Golden State Warriors versus your JV high school basketball team. And they're tough to stop. And Akron hung with them for a little bit, but
they really did. It was about a quarter and a half that they were there, and then it got ugly. It got ugly. Oh, and by the way, we threw the graphic up for you. You're still good with Tennessee.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Tennessee actually plays. Kansas made me mad because they went out there and laid an egg. And
unfortunately, I saw that one coming.
Yeah, not in the first round though, Mr. Sanford.
We're talking about that in a minute.
And I'm not even surprised that Kentucky lost to Oakland because it's like Jay Wright said on this show, Kentucky, the problem with a lot of these kids now is, they come from these AAU teams where AAU basketball, listen, people have their complaints about AAU basketball, and you think you're just going to throw these kids together who haven't had a lot of time together, and you tell them, hey, listen, they're just going to go out there and just win. You've all got the talent. It doesn't work that way. Oakland is a team where their whole starting 5 has been together for the last, 4 or 5 years. So not really surprised that Oakland got the victory over Kentucky. I think that head coach, did the best he could. I'm just not surprised at that. And other than that, everything's still intact. Duke and Houston is going to be probably the matchup of the week. If Duke could somehow find a way to get past Houston, I think Duke could be smooth sailing, but I don't see that happening. And yeah.
Straub, I got a question for you. Number one, I want your thoughts so far. Maybe your best game storyline so far. And then we have to address the elephant in the room, and Nick talked about it too. Purdue looking scary good.
Yeah.
100%. Straub, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, so like we said, there were upsets, but no team lower than 11 seed, which was NC State that came in super hot, has made it to the Sweet 16. So nothing has been crazy surprising. I mean, in the East, the only thing that really was a shocker, which is Mr. Furnow's winner in the tournament, Auburn lost. So I don't want to hear it from this guy. Clemson's really the only surprise in the West, but if you saw them play this year, it really isn't a surprise as long as they're good enough to keep going.
NC State is a surprise.
I see they beat a Texas Tech team, which they were favored against.
In terms of seeding, but
then if you look at it, they beat an NC State team,
they're on
our Texas Tech team, and then an Oakland team that upset a Kentucky. And so it in terms of seeding, yes, but in terms of their path, not terribly. I guess Duke was only one in the South that we thought was going to get knocked out early. They just put a whooping on James Madison.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and then in the Midwest, the real big storyline there is Purdue, and I think this is the time where I don't know if it's because no one has really had a good game plan against Zach Edey, and maybe once we get one, we'll see him struggle a little bit. But they have been using a lot of their other options other than Zach Edey to get some points, and that's what's really scary. They're not depending on him for the entirety of their offense, and so Purdue, we ragged on them in the beginning. No one thought they were going to go far, and now we're seeing them, and we might have to change our minds as they are legit contenders for the title here.
Yeah.
It was all fun and games to make fun of Purdue until they started whipping everybody.
Yeah.
And another thing.
Go ahead.
And another thing. I had the upset called in that Kansas and Samford game. If not for, I'm assuming, the entire referee team having money on Kansas and not calling that egregious foul that was the cleanest block I have ever seen. Didn't even touch him, hit all ball. It blows my mind that you cannot go back and reverse something like that. But if you can, the fact that it even go to the review monitor for it, they just straight up just kept going. Absolutely ridiculous. So that's my rant. And I feel like they might not have beaten Gonzaga as far as they thought, but they should have beat Kansas. And so that's my rant over. We can move on.
You said NC State wasn't a surprise because of how they've been playing. Nick said it. Is Clemson a surprise? I mean, you said it. If you've seen how they played, they were so up and down. But when they were up, they were up. So
when Clemson's problem is, can they stay consistent?
Yeah.
You don't know what Clemson team you're going to get.
Mm-mm.
So, and it's pretty much been like that all season. So I'm not really surprised that Clemson knocked off New Mexico. I'm not surprised that they beat Baylor. And I wouldn't be surprised if they win, but depending on what Clemson team shows up, it's kind of like, nah, we'll see.
I think it's funny that they play the ultimate forever, who knows which team you're going to get in Arizona. Like this, you could get two bad teams that game, and then it's still a close game because neither are playing well. Or one of these teams could absolutely run one of the other teams out of the gym. And I do agree with Nick. The problem is going to be, can Arizona bring that defense out in the beginning of the game and stop letting some of the beginning of some of these games be close? Because I honestly thought after what they did against Long Beach State, where there was a couple times where you're like, why is this close here at the beginning? I thought Dayton was going to have a better chance. Not saying that they whooped Dayton, but
freaking Nevada, man.
Yeah.
A 19-point lead.
Cool. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I had no, listen, Nevada's going to Nevada.
Nevada basketball is going to Nevada basketball.
Yeah.
But we got some good matchups. This NC State Marquette matchup. Is somebody on Marquette going to be able to guard my guy on NC State there? We do got to give a shout out though. And I was trying, and that would be to not just Grand Canyon, but our guys. What?
Called that one?
Yeah. Yes, you did. I have to give you 100%. 100% credit on that one. And I have to search the bracket because there's just been so much going on, guys. James Madison for making a small run there, as well. But it's chalk. It's chalk. Right?
That's the only disappointment. You had some really good underdog teams, when Oakland, James Madison, Grand Canyon, and then they fell flat on their face in the second round, and you were really hoping to get something going, but
yeah.
Tournament is how the tournament is.
Absolutely.
You know what? When you're playing, you gotta understand. Duke basketball is so much. When you put on that Duke uniform, because of the legacy and things like that, you know what time it is in the tournament. Come tournament time. So if you're one of those teams that you've been slept on all year, you get in the tournament, you turn to some heads, you're like, oh, okay. Duke says nah, and it's like, all right, well, never mind.
Do you guys agree with that? Do you think Iowa State is going to be on upset alert? Illinois making a run here, as Nick called out?
Close, but I really like Iowa State's defense, man. They are so good.
Yeah, give me Iowa State. Give me Iowa State. I think they're actually my Elite Eight team. I think Iowa State's defense is going to be way too much for Illinois. Shannon is something special. I don't think he's special enough that he's going to pull off an upset over Iowa State. Give me Iowa State.
And San Diego State had some trouble with UAB.
Yeah.
Then they got a Yale team that couldn't shoot.
Yeah.
Is there any chance they have against UConn, or is UConn gonna beat the brakes up on that one?
I think UConn's gonna beat the brakes off UAB.
Yeah. Almost had that UAB upset.
Yeah.
I get it. All right. Rico, anything else on the men's tournament?
No, I just think everything's still intact as far as my national championship picks is concerned. My Final Four is still intact, and that's everything considered. Because I could have torn my bracket up. I could have thrown the remote. I could have punched the brick wall outside my apartment. I could be really salty right now, but by the grace of God, everything's good with my tournament bracket thus far. Now, Tennessee probably may not win this weekend. So, yeah, this is probably. I agree with Craig Straub. This is probably my worst bracket ever.
That's our Pops. So that's funny. That's funny because that's a lot of brackets, Pops. That's a lot of brackets. Man. That's a lot.
All right.
Remember when VCU was the first four?
Yeah.
And they made it all the way to
Shaka Smart, baby.
Man.
Yeah.
And now Shaka just led
Marquette to a Sweet 16.
Yeah, it's got Marquette there in the Sweet 16 too.
He's one hell of a coach. Listen, I went to Virginia Union around the corner. I was living in Richmond at the time that VCU went to the Final Four, and the magic throughout the city was just amazing.
Oh yeah.
VCU went to the Final Four, and U of R had made it to the Sweet 16 that year too. They wound up losing, but yeah. So I'm happy for Shaka Smart. I'm a Union cat. We don't like VCU, but I'm happy for Shaka Smart.
Absolutely. So I want to give a big my bad. No big shout out yet. The men's side of the bracket for the Straub Bros Sports Show Challenge. I want to give a shout out to my guy Justin Witt, Jay Whitty there. That is his same ESPN account, I'm pretty sure, from when he was in that said CAD class with me doing the fantasy football. So shout out to Justin Witt there. And shout out to ESPN fan 6600357 whoever you are.
Whooping all of us right now.
Absolutely whooping us all, and with your most potential points as well. Shout out to Trey, shout out to Josh, shout out to Miguel, and Fantastic. So yeah, all of it. Shout out to you guys for being in there. Great job on your brackets. You're whooping all me. I think I'm in 9th place in this one.
I'm in 15th, so I'm low.
That's okay, brother. It's okay. But yeah, it is all good there. I want to give a shout out here to my guy Rico McGee of the Rulers Minute for jumping on for us for a little bit to talk about our brackets. We'll check in with Rico. I think sometime probably around Final Four towards the national championship game.
Yes, sir. Men and women's Final Four. I will definitely be down.
Absolutely. We will be in on that. We will be checking in. We'll be laughing at how probably none of our picks came true or how much chalk we got going on, and see if I can kind of hang on for dear life to my number one spot on the women's side. So shout out to you, Rico. We really appreciate you for coming on. Rico, tell people where they can find you.
They can find me on YouTube. You can find highlights on TikTok at Rulers Minute 216, Instagram at Rulers Minute 216, Facebook is still the Sports Minute because I haven't figured out how to change my name to the Rulers Minute. But find me as the Sports Minute on Facebook, and you can find me at Rulers Minute on YouTube. See you in a minute.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rico. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, brothers.
See you.
All right, bro.
Yeah, Mel isn't too happy about my bracket. I don't think my sports knowledge is lacking.
No, not doing great there, but he can't talk too much. He didn't fill a bracket out. So I'm gonna get on him for that. Or if he did, I wonder if he's ESPN anonymous.
Yeah, a bunch of numbers.
He didn't want his name in there, but I didn't really double check too much. All right, so we're gonna switch gears a little bit. We're gonna switch a couple topics. We're going to talk about my other favorite, most important thing to talk about with my brother, because it's one of the only few teams that we actually root for together, and that would be our Cleveland Guardians. Bro, it's time to guard the land. Spring training is about wrapped. Opening day roster is, not set in 100% stone because a couple moves could be made, but it's set in stone. Give the people the opening day roster. I want to talk about it real quick. I want to give some thoughts on it. Yes, let's go. It's beautiful. I love it. I don't care. It's the most amazing thing in the world. Oh yeah, you're right, Drew. We will get the news after. I completely fired that up. I almost used the wrong F word too. Shout out to me for censoring myself. But we've got some opening day roster. I have some things I'm going to throw out to you. You give me an answer as long as you would like. I'm going to start with the catching situation. You see Bo Naylor. You see Austin Hedges, who came back. I love that Austin Hedges is back. I love a veteran. I love him in there. Bo Naylor, lean on Austin Hedges. Make this the job. Make this your job. It was gifted to you. This is supposed to be your job. Take the job. Lean on this veteran as much as you can because he's not there to try to take your job. He is there to help you. Lean on that veteran and make this your job.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what he should do. Also, it's kind of interesting that we have, because technically, if you look at the utility, David Fry is also a massive catching option. You have 3 catchers on the roster, which is a little surprising, but I say I completely agree. This is a young kid who has all of the raw talent in the world, and for someone who in Austin Hedges is so just refined in how he works day to day in catching and is a locker room presence. Maybe not, maybe Bo won't get too many tips in hitting from Austin Hedges, but in the actual catching, I think Bo Naylor, this is a perfect guy for Bo Naylor to learn under because he has said it multiple times. Austin Hedges is there to distribute knowledge and help this team win. He just won a World Series with the Rangers. So yeah, that like Bo Naylor, you have the talent. Let's get you to a veteran status as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. And I was going to get to this point too. Fry kind of coming in more as an outfielder, kind of more of that third emergency catcher, but still 3 guys who can catch. But I don't want Fry to catch. I'm going to be honest. I want that split between the two. All right. So I agree with you because you kind of echoed my point. So I want to move on to the infield, but I want to specifically talk about first base right now. So Mazzarano went down. So technically, Josh Naylor is your only real first baseman. I know what's his name played there yesterday. I apologize for calling him what's his name and not remembering off the top of my head. But has been getting some cuts there at first. But Josh Naylor is your only first baseman, and I don't say that in a negative way. Josh Naylor is my favorite Cleveland Guardian since Carlos Santana left. And when Carlos Santana he was here, he was my favorite Guardian / Cleveland. word I'm not allowed to say anymore. I'm going to try to keep that rolling. But he's going to get Josh Naylor needs to be an everyday presence in this lineup for this team to be successful. Okay, he was hitting well last year. In order for him to be healthy and to remain in this lineup all year, he needs to not be playing first base every day.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
No, that was exactly my thought when I saw this. Was you usually want to give someone who's been not injury prone, but had a good stint of injuries these past couple of years. You want to give them an option that, hey, coach, I'm kind of feeling kind of tight or something like that, to give them a DH option or give them maybe a day off option when this kind of doesn't look like you have a lot of those options. You have some people who can play first base, but no one who is a first baseman other than Josh Naylor in this lineup, in this roster. So it's a little bit of a kind of, you're just banking on Naylor to stay healthy. You're banking on him. And Arias played it a lot. Fry can, and possibly Freeman, but these are all, they can do it. Not this is what they've played and this is what they're good at.
And if
that's kind of my thing there.
And I agree, I guess, and I don't disagree with what Nick's saying. I guess my concern is I typically don't like first base being a place where you play there sometimes. And I do get it. Arias played it a lot last year. And with some of the infielder, that is true. And that is,
but he's had like 2 or 3 off seasons as a first baseman.
And I guess I should say this. In terms of what we have as first baseman, Josh has that most experience, as along with Kyle, but Kyle got sent down. Arias, and they want Arias to get at bats. The thing for me, and I know you mentioned possibly Freeman. I mean, as of right now, Freeman's starting in center. So the first base thing, and when you're, especially with a guy who's transitioning to the outfield, I don't think you want to mess with trying to throw him back sometimes at first base, but it's okay. I'm not, if Arias is there, they want to get him at bats. That's fine. Then I'm good with it. Especially now that you made some of the moves that you did. One of the big moves we do need to talk about though, before we really get into the outfield now, Myles Straw put on waivers, made it all the way through waivers, and is now back with the team, but will start down in the minors. Thoughts on that? We were both very surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I get his contract is a little heavy. It's like 8 to 10 per year. But like nobody wanted Myles Straw off waivers.
Right.
That I mean, it's not concerning because it's not like he's going to be playing like every day for us.
Right.
But yeah, I think that kind of goes to show how much can happen in a 2-year stretch because, you end the 2021 season, and this is a team that, was right there with the Yankees, the 2022 season, was just there. We, made it with the Yankees, was so close to getting past them. And while Myles Straw was maybe a little bit of a liability in the bat, he made up for it in droves with his defensive play. But then you get to the 2022 season, there was no progression, even a regression in his offense, and not really much movement in his defense. And so you come and you kind of look at all these young talent and you go, while we appreciate and we want a Myles Straw presence, is he really valuable enough for us when he is providing absolutely nothing going forward offensively? And unfortunately, when I say nothing, I really mean almost nothing.
I guess I still thought somebody would do it. I still thought somebody would be foolish enough to gamble on the contract and go and get it. So and listen, it's fine. I can be wrong there. I was a little surprised there. I mean, I'm going to just be consistent because, that's kind of what you're supposed to be when you do these kind of things. I said all along I wanted the kids to play, right?
Yeah.
All right. The kids are playing. So
and you still got some in the wings.
Absolutely. The future is bright for the Cleveland Guardians, even though I really truly think that, yes, we may struggle a bit here this year. I think there's a 3rd or 4th place finish coming, but go ahead.
I got one thing that I want to ask. I'm putting you on the spot here.
Come on with it.
Give me, and you can do it between 5 games. I'm not going to give you an exact. I'm not holding you to an exact. Give me a little bit of a record prediction for this team.
Oh my goodness.
And like I said, I'll give you a 5 to 10 window. I don't need an exact number here. How many games are they going to win?
I want to see. Okay, if you're going to put me on the spot here, I'm going to ramble while I have to Google because I want to see what the win total was for last year.
Okay. Because if when I'm looking at this team, I think this is a team that And I like the 80. I think that's very optimistic. And I think similar here, the division isn't strong. 75 to 80. I am unfortunately a Cleveland sports fan, so I'm going as more of a pessimistic side. I'm going to say around 70 games. I think they finish about 70, 72, just because I think.
So, okay, they won 76 games last year.
Yeah, and I think that if we start off kind of struggling, there is a possibility we even lose some of your higher caliber players that are going to win you games later on down the stretch. And so everyone's kind of saying 75 to 80. I think I'm going a little lower. I think I'm going 70, 72 games.
Okay, so here's what concerns me. Well, okay. So this would be yeah. Francona was very inconsistent. Here's the other thing, I think, because we keep kind of talking about the offense. Our pitching. What are we going to get? Is Tristan McKenzie healthy? Okay, then yeah, 75 to 80 is reasonable. Can Gavin Williams, is he going to come back when he's eased in?
Are we going to keep Bieber for the whole year?
Absolutely. Are you going to keep Bieber all year? What are you going to get from Carlos Carrasco? I understand. I love that he's on the team. I love that he made the roster, but what are you going to get out of him? The bullpen is a little banged up with illness and injuries right now. What are you going to get when Karinchak comes back? When is Stefan coming back? If at all this season? That doesn't look good. So the pitching, I think, kind of is going to determine that. But if they can have like, and I don't disagree with Nick when he says the solid 1, 2, 3. I mean, you got Bieber, you've got Tristan, you've got Tanner Bybee. Logan Allen has really looked good in some different spots this last year. But yeah, that bullpen, like that's it. Clase, what Clase are we getting?
And is he gonna stay the whole year?
If it's the if it's the Clase from last year and you're potentially trading Bieber or trading Clase, yeah, that's going to be 70, 71, maybe even lower, honestly. But if you get a strong pitching staff, if the bullpen hangs in together and you get these kids hitting, yeah, you can win 75. All right, so you put me on the spot. You wanted a number. I'm going to go between, so Dad said 75 to 80. You're saying 70 to 71. I'm going to kind of go, honestly, somewhere in the middle, and I'm going to say between like 72, 73, 74, like that. Give me 70, give me 73.
All righty, I like it.
And I listen. I like this.
Can Jose still hit 40?
Yeah.
You think so? I think that might be a big question. Can he still be hit 40?
Because here's the thing. I think, and I'm gonna give this credit. And I love Terry Francona, but there was some inconsistency. He wasn't healthy. He the day-to-day grind of being a manager had taken his toll on him. His health wasn't doing well. I think there's going to be some movement in this lineup to make sure that Jose is protected and to make sure Jose can get good pitches. I think it will be much a more active thing. And I think guys are going to kind of be able to kind of settle in, know they've got their places settled. We didn't really talk about the offense or the outfield. You've got Steven Kwan. They've already talked about Tyler Freeman starting in center. And then Laureano is expected to take most of those swing or at bats in left field. You've got Will Brennan who's coming along. You still got David Fry. You need multiple outfielders. I love those two. And then you've got Arias to give people a day off in the infield. I like this team. I do. I think I want to tailor the expectations because of so much of the youth that we're gonna rely on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. See, the issue is, and I think we've touched on this.
Yeah,
Naylor is good when he's healthy, but unfortunately, he's missed a lot of time, and I don't know. And then Kwan, he took not a massive, but a little bit of a regression from his rookie year. Are we going to be able to bring that back to, seeing good pitches, hitting good pitches? That it's all up to tempering and making sure that these expectations are met, because they can get to here. But what I want to know, and this will be kind of explained a month or two into the season where, like, how realistic are those expectations going to be when we get further into the season.
I agree. And because Nick, I'm going to give Nick 100% credit on this. If this is what the plan is, though, that Naylor's going to DH and Arias will play first base, then that still gives that gives Brennan an opportunity to still play in the outfield. Like you can, and then every day that Naylor plays first base, you could potentially every second or so day match that up with Jimenez having a day off, Hosey getting his day off. I loved, and this offense was better when not only when Quan and Naylor were hitting like they were, but when they were dabbling with having Jose play and our hit at the DH. When they did that more because you had guys who could fill in and were hitting, the offense was getting better because Jose could take some days off, and Jose was banged up and hurting too. That's something else I want to point out. Because he plays through it, we kind of don't give it a knock, but Jose has been banged up kind of year in, year out as well. He's been carrying these injuries. I would love for, like I said, Arias to get more PT and get some playing time there. Constantly give Naylor that off day at first, but Arias could possibly be playing every day if every other day Hosey's getting a DH day, stuff like that. I think, and I think that's some stuff that's going to come into play, more of that strategic stuff now that we've got a different manager. But we will see about that. How do you feel about that?
See,
and the question is, Florial is a huge question mark.
Yeah, and I think the real thing for me is I completely agree because we don't know much about him. We know he has talent, we know he has potential, but until we start seeing him in big league lineups and hitting against big league pitchers, not in spring training, because we've seen most of these guys hit against big league competition, so we can kind of get an idea of where they're at and where they can go from. We haven't seen Florial really hit against big league competitors, so that'll be a big thing is when he starts to maybe get some playing time in the lineups, then we can kind of get a benchmark. But I think I agree. He is just, we have no information on him right now.
Yeah, and you have a young kid in center field, so he's going to need days off. He's learning as well. And then you're gonna platoon left, or I'm sorry, right, and that's okay. And mix the kid in there, him and Brennan, and I love that.
And Laureano too, I kind of like as like a power hitter in the lineup as well.
And here's the other thing: maybe there's days where one of these guys fill in at DH and Arias plays first base and Naylor doesn't be in the lineup. We give him multiple days off, or maybe we give Jose more days off, like I'd already talked about. So we'll see about that. And yeah, sophomore slumps. Quan struggled a bit last year, but I think
who else struggled their sophomore year?
Yeah, who?
Oscar Gonzalez. Who else? I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, Bradley Zimmer. Like a lot of these, I can't think of his name. Tyler Naquin.
Yes.
A lot of these guys that had so much potential, and then just pitchers figured him out, and they couldn't do it anymore. And so, sophomore slumps are common, yes, but it's also just as common for them to continue to slump afterwards. And so we kind of have to. We can't be.
I know. I'm not trying to critique Tito too much because it's not what we're here for. Nick Swisher. Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
I'm not trying to be critical of, of Tito too much, but that was also some of the issues I had with the Tito reign towards the end, was because some of these young kids were not allowed to play through a couple of their slumps because we were trying to put in the veterans because we were trying to chase for the division. I think that's not if we're winning, that's fine. But we're going to win with this roster, and we're going to win with this staff potentially. Obviously, maybe if it's bad, you make a move or two, but it's not going to be blowing it up, okay? In terms of the kids. You're keeping the kids, and the kids are going to play. And if we're going to win, it's because the kids are winning. So I'm not 100% sure that's what we were going. We were trying to win at all costs almost. And that's not where we're at as a ball club. So that would be I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yeah,
let's go.
I am also going to the Reds opening day parade this year. It is obviously for all baseball fans know that it's a massive thing. I will be live tweeting there, so watch out for it. It's gonna be a great time on Thursday.
Awesome. Be there, and that would be on Twitter at Straub Bros Sports. So that's guard the land. We guarded the land. Now I missed some stuff, but some of our news has to do with baseball, so we're gonna kind of go into this, and this is gonna be some really, really good stuff. I don't actually have a a news bracket, which is actually funny, so I'm gonna create it right here. But I mean, the first thing we have to talk about, and it's baseball related, and that would be Shohei Ohtani. If you've been living under a baseball rock, and that's okay, Shohei Ohtani ran into a bit of an issue this past week because his interpreter allegedly stole
$4.5 million.
$4.5 million to pay off a gambling debt. Not only that, but the debt this was found out about because there was an investigation, and the interpreter said originally that Ohtani had known about it and paid the debt. Upon hearing that and learning that, Ohtani fired him, denies ever gambling on sports, and said the money was stolen. Cue Pete Rose. Andrew Straub, your thoughts?
Wow. This is probably one of the most important breaking news segments of the entire time we've been here, because this is a player who the MLB is basically leaning on to generate interest in the league. He is someone who is incredibly talented. He is from another country, so is bringing that revenue as well. And now you have to decide, depending on how this court case and how this all falls out, what you are going to do with the person that is basically making 50% of your revenue in this. Because there's two big questions. How was the interpreter allowed in Ohtani's bank account if Ohtani insists that he didn't do it himself? And how do you not notice $4.5 million missing from your bank account? It all kind of is a little bit fishy, and so we will see from here. But if this goes the way I think it's gonna go, the MLB has a massive decision on their hands.
So I'm going to hit multiple things that you said. Number one, Nick, we're going to touch on that story next, so I'm not going to put your comment up because it is great, because we're going to touch on that. So this is awful. This is massive, but this is also really bad. I'll throw Mom's comment up. Mom calls bullshit that he knew.
Yeah.
And Dad, we're going to talk about the NBA player under investigation too. So I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second here. There have been all kinds of stories from not just athletes, but entertainers and rich people everywhere, where when they make so much money, sometimes sometimes money does slip through the cracks and you don't know or don't understand it. So that's a problem. Here is the other problem for me. So there's that part. So it could happen. Okay. It could have been. He made what is it? $700 million, my guy. Like, there's a lot of money. I'm not saying that it's all there, because it's not. It's not like he has a bank account with $700 million in it. That's not how this works. I know some people get lost in that sometimes in terms of how those contracts works. And no, Nick, we're not talking about Diddy.
No, we're not talking about Diddy on this podcast.
But here's the problems, man. Okay. So we have found out that Ohtani speaks English, and for the most part, he kind of doesn't need a translator. And but he can have one all he wants. It's not his first language. I don't blame anyone who wants a translator when it's not their first language. But it's also like his buddy from home. And as a guy who's got buddies from home and buddies that I have known for a long time, man, listen, if this show ever made it, if we ever went full Pat McAfee, Dan Patrick show, they would have jobs on our show in a heartbeat. Okay. And so and listen, if one of them got in trouble and got busted for something, and then you said, well, Ken, listen, those are my boys. Okay. It happens. This guy just happens to really like the Lakers on a Wednesday evening, with the hook. Like I don't know. Dad makes a good point. Personal assistants usually have access to banking info.
But is a translator a personal assistant?
The role has been kind of murky. He was a translator, like / personal assistant. But here's the problem. Here's my problem too. The original story, when they asked him and he found out, Ohtani knew and paid it. And then when Ohtani found out that, he fired him. Or is it because people found out that you paid his debt? So I don't want to rush to exactly that Ohtani was throwing games. Although I did watch a tweet of somebody who tracked down where one of the bets came from, and apparently it came from Ohtani's hometown. And then he gives up multiple home runs to the Braves. This is what happens. This is what happens. This is what you open yourself up to. So here, I kind of give this kind of a Pete Rose type deal. Do I think he was throwing games? No. Do I think his buddy's got a problem and can't stay off of the gambling apps and needed some help when he got in too deep? Yes. Did I think Ohtani probably knew that and paid it for him to make it go away? Yes. But does that mean, you know what I mean? That's the other thing too. Ohtani did say the most he's ever said for any interview. So we can take that how we want. Nick points that out, and it's correct. Like, he said a lot. However, like you said, you take that how you want. Man, he's talking a lot. Is he guilty? He's got a lot to say. Or this is a very important thing. And you're also talking about someone who comes from a culture, not saying that he wouldn't care either way, but people who take their honor and their name very seriously. And so that statement was going to come strong in terms of gambling and being an athlete. So but like Nick said, you take that how you want. You can go either way with that. So that's tough.
Yeah. Obviously we'll see more as it goes on, but just that bombshell is something that is now you had this excitement of coming into the season, but now all of the eyes are going to be on Ohtani until this is over, because there's nothing bigger than your biggest player potentially having to be banned from baseball.
Yeah. I will say this, has better off not doing an interview. The only reason I would say no to that is because he's going to get these questions every day, day in and day out. But now that he has spoke every single day, he can walk up to the microphone and go, I have already given a statement about this. I won't answer any more questions. And he's no longer ducking because he did give a statement. He talked about it. So that would be why he comes out in front of that. Access to locker room info, like lineups, like the things this guy knew. But I'm not saying it's been reported. I thought I read that he hadn't bet on baseball, that he had bet on the NBA. I thought that I read.
I'm not sure, but I had a feeling it might have been.
Full disclosure, I don't know, but I'm just saying, a good day to be Goodell.
He's kind of, I don't know. The NFL is not really having great PR right now either.
I like this. Let's switch topics before we switch over to the NBA version. Being on a legal issue, does Trevor Bauer pitch this year in the Major League Baseball or in Major League Baseball? Andrew says no. I guess at this point, if he was going to, I feel like it would have happened. He's had the 2 exhibition games against Major League teams. He hasn't looked bad. He's actually looked really good or pretty decent in those games. I guess
I will say this.
Go ahead. You're my legal Ken doesn't step in landmines expert. So go ahead.
Well, I will say this. Regardless of how he is as like being looked at as a pitching, and obviously sometimes it all comes down to that, there's been reports regardless of that he is an absolute awful person to be with in the locker room. And sometimes and especially these past couple years, that is such a big factor in even contending teams that unless the manager is like an old school manager and the front office an old school front office that they don't care, you're not gonna get him on a team that is contending for something, which is the only place that Bauer I think is gonna want to go.
Right. And here I'll address the elephant in the room of the situation, because Nick did say being a legal issue. He was the first case was what it was. It's been dismissed. There have been things that come out. There are other cases that are still going on,
and one that just got put out.
So that is his problem. The legal issues have not gone away. They're not over with, and now he's trying out and getting a job. He's basically just auditioning while all of this is still playing out. And because he was already out of the league and suspended and out of the league and no one wanted to sign him, while there are still ongoing legal issues, no one's going to touch him right now. If somebody had kept him throughout all of this, he probably is still pitching. Whether or not you agree with that, that's not what I'm saying, but he's probably still pitching if he's never suspended. If a team has kept him, but what after the stints in Korea and we're pitching in the Mexican League? No, everybody's like, well, you're already gone. The cloud is already outside of the league now. It's not ours to deal with. So no, I don't believe so. I'm going to be honest. I have not had any kind of deep dive into any of Trevor Bauer's new cases for me to give an opinion. But for what I'm going to say, from what I do know on the brief little touch of it I have, it's not good stuff. And I don't think so. But we will see. But speaking of gambling, because we were talking about it with Otani, we have to switch to the NBA and talking about this gambling news, because I know it's not okay, but this is hilarious. Jonte Porter is being investigated by the NBA following betting irregularities on 2 separate games. This just gets better and better. It's gold. In which both of those games he left early. And not only did he leave early, but his prop bets, the first one was like 4.5 points, and like half of a 3-pointer. He obviously hit the unders because he had left with an eye injury. And then in the second one, I think it was another 3-pointer. But his unders obviously hit because he left both of those games injured. But they didn't just hit. And they didn't just hit a little bit. On both of those occasions, because DraftKings makes this public to its bettors, they were the number 1 money-making prop bet in the NBA that night. If that is not a come on, man, I don't know what the hell is. Mr. Porter. Now, listen, first things first, let's get this out of the way. This could absolutely be an anomaly. This could not have anything to do. This could be all just a misunderstanding and just somebody just happened to cash out that night. Maybe somebody was sitting behind the bench and heard and knew. But I don't want to have a podcast like that. We're going to play reckless. I'm going to steal this from my guys at the Lebitard Show, so I apologize. Complete reckless speculation. Yes, yeah, I had to throw that in. He didn't know that. Yeah, the number 1 prop bet. Come on. So we got to get this out. So I don't want to do that. So full reckless speculation. I want to say that he did it, sir. You can't just do it twice. If you're going to do it, you got to do it like 5 times and lose 3 of them. Like, you can't, like, what? And also this, and I apologize, he plays for the Raptors, correct?
Yeah.
You're the 12th man on the Raptors, bro. Guys are rich enough to go in and drop 10 G's on Steph Curry to go for 30, or they think LeBron will have a triple-double. Nobody goes in and bets 10 grand on the 12th man of the Raptors to hit his unders on 3-pointers. None of us are that degenerate, okay? I'm sorry, okay? Come on. He took the shot. That's exactly what he did, because this is what makes sense. And I'm sorry if it's not true. I will come back on this podcast and I will give this man a full rant apology. But I think he only makes $400 grand for the year. And then he knows that he's got the eye injury and he's ill. So what does he say? He calls his bookie or calls his brother or calls whoever or calls his uncle or calls his mom, whoever the hell he called, or maybe he did it himself. Man, I hope you didn't do that. But he calls whoever he calls and goes, look, I'm going to try to play, but I know I can't, but I'm going to give it a go. And then but now we're talking like not just your own stats, but game I know we talk a lot of gambling on this podcast. They're going to take it away from me before we ever make it back.
Oh my God, dude. Like, I don't understand. I guess I was raised in such caution that, like, if I were to ever think of doing something like this.
Right. Shout out to Nick, because Nick said he's an undrafted free agent, so I respect his hustle, but you can't bet the whole bank account, right, man? My man went full Grand Theft Auto. He was like, I want all my chips in. I'll put in a cheat code if I mess up. All right.
Like, I don't, like I said, I would play it so cautious, but like I would plan it out and I would have this super just like thing where I could never get caught. How do you just go like, yeah, I'm going to bet on myself or have others that I know bet on myself for something that that is so, and bet so much money.
Right.
It's like, and you
like,
couldn't have just done like,
and
don't just bet like $200 or bet like $1,000.
And don't get me wrong. Like, here's the thing. Like, Otto Porter, and I don't want to say anybody's name, so take that back. I don't want to say any other players' names, but if you give me a guy who's at least a starter in the NBA, maybe this
or
doesn't
a sixth man.
Maybe this doesn't get investigated, but there's enough NBA games. Like, if you were the only game that night, even then, like, what is going on? Oh my goodness, that's. I can't. So now that we got out of that one, let's get everybody fired up. I hope Ray's here. I don't know what Ray's doing. The NFL banned the hip drop tackle. The NFL banned the hip drop tackle yesterday. Give your thoughts, Straub. A lot of people are angry about this.
Yeah, because I can see it now. It is 3rd and 15 on the Kansas City 25. They are down 2. Mahomes goes back to pass. He scrambles out of the box, and whatever defensive end comes and wraps him up and kind of does a little bit of a hip drop, and the ref throws the flag. They get 15 yards for a first down, and they end up driving and winning the game. And people will lose their minds. This is a very subjective rule that the refs are going to have to just kind of figure out if it is or not. It's going to be it's going to be worse than roughing the passer, in my opinion. And you are now forcing defenders to, you can't hit high, you can't hit low, you can't turn and wrap them up and drop them to the ground. I don't know how else you're going to tackle them. And even if you have suggestions on how to tackle them, they're not going to be able to learn and break those other habits in an off season. This should have been, if you were going to do it, there should have been a 2 to 3 year period where they slowly implement it while they're teaching other dudes who've been playing a certain way for 12 years how to tackle differently.
You're all a bunch of whiny crawl.
Oh my, yeah! Until Micah Parsons hip drops someone and they give a foul and you start screaming at your TV, I don't want to hear it.
So it's not about that, because I'll be mad about it, but I get mad when we don't get our roughing the passer and it gets called just like everybody else. But here's why you're all a bunch of crybabies, and it doesn't matter. This is the most unsafe, barbaric game next to like actually being a gladiator. Okay? Like a real life gladiator. And at some point when you add in the speed and the helmets, I mean, there's probably some plays that could have knocked out some gladiators and killed them as well. But you're trying to make an unsafe game safe. You can only do so much. And here's the problem. And this is, and first of all, yeah, because we just need to stop. All right, Parsons is a beast. He don't need no hip drops. You're dang right. Okay. It's an unsafe game. You can only make it so safe. Wide receivers, tight ends, running backs have said for years, please hit me from my hips up. Anywhere up there. Please don't hit my knees. So for years, defenders were like, all right, handshake agreement. We don't try to take knees out. Okay. And then, I mean, we kind of all knew this, but we really figured it out. Hey, this game kills people in like the after game. It rattles their brain so bad that it kills them and cripples them. So we can't let you hit in the head anymore because it kills you. So players said, okay, so we're going to hit you still from the neck down, neck to the hips. Got you. And then we've put in all the rules about everything else. So defenders said, okay, we can't make any money anymore because we can't tackle you anymore. Guys, that handshake agreement has to go. We got to hit you in your knees. Sorry, we have no choice. We've got to tackle you low because we can't hit you anywhere else. And now, and trust me, man, me and other people in my group chat argued this for 2 hours last night. I get it that it was only like 6 plays that were sent to the league to demonstrate this, but every one of them was an offensive player being hurt. You hurt enough offensive players with one said defensive play in any modern sport, it's gonna get outlawed, especially in football. That is the name of this game. The modern era. Now listen, if you want to, the days of clotheslines and NFL blitz and what was this jacked up segments on, those days are gone, guys. And I know 90% of us who have grown up watching football have grown up with that kind of football. It is ingrained in us that is what football is. It is still kind of like that at the youth and even sometimes on the college level. But there's nothing there. We can't go backwards, guys. I'm sorry. It's over. Too many guys got hurt with that kind of tackle. It hasn't always been a big tackle. It hasn't always been the way guys have tackled. They've got no choice. But this is what it comes down to. And this is what it comes down to. Just play some real football. No, we'll get to that, though. But this is what it comes down to. I'm being serious about this. The NBA is now looking into making where the offensive player drives in and is forcing that contact. They want to start calling that an offensive foul. Why? Because the offensive rules got so far out in the NBA that the scoring is now being criticized because it's ugly sometimes. Football's not there yet, guys and gals. I'm sorry. As of right now, everybody still loves those touchdowns. Okay? And the way we've taken away preseason games, so now the first week to 2 weeks are real sloppy. When we get what did we talk about all last year? Those Dolphins in the 72-point or whatever, the 50-point game or whatever it was. That's what we talked about. Until the offense gets so out of hand that it's making the game bad, the defense isn't getting anything. So you can yell and you can whine, but nothing's going to change.
So I understand. I do. I understand that you're stopping injuries in a certain way. But unfortunately, the way that they are conducting this, you are going to cause injuries on the other end. And this is what I mean. You are extending the season more games. You are reducing preseason games for guys to get adjusted and ready for real games.
18 games is coming.
You are not changing the turf that is causing numerous non-contact injuries.
You're adding it.
And now you are adding rules that is going to make a defensive player hesitate in the middle of an open field game that is going to cause him to get hurt. I understand that you are preventing offensive injuries, but you are now going to increase defensive injuries due to these rules. And I get it, but you also have to not just see it from one, not you, but the NFL has to see it from one, not from just one point of view, but an entire point of view here, where there is so much more that you're doing on top of this that is basically leveling the injury anywhere else. And that is exactly the point here. I honestly might tip it the other way.
I had to come back to this comment. It doesn't matter. This injury checked 2 boxes. The only 2 boxes that actually matter. Safety and money. offensive players were hurt in every one of those plays. That's it, guys. I get it, but that's what they do now. This play hurts offense and offensive players. How do we fix it? They wanted to possibly ban the damn tush push because it got that. There you go. Because it started to make the offense look ugly. It started to make the offense look cheap, and they thought about getting rid of it. You need more of that before you're going to get more on the defensive sides. And this hurts too. Non-contact practices now. And listen, I get it. If this is going to save guys, this is going to make guys be able to play longer. And I'm all for it. I get that. I want to be able to interview some of these sports legends at some point on this show and not have them unable to talk to us. So I get it. That's why I'm not, and I don't disagree with what you said, bro. I'm for the record. I get it. But I got to roll with it. This is what it is now. It checked both boxes, safety and money. And here, there's no elephant in the room there. And I think it might be flipped. Well, it's both intertwined. My offensive players who make my league the most money are getting hurt. What does that address if you fix it? It technically, by definition, fixes money and safety. How do you feel the league split it? Well, let's be honest. In this league, it's usually money before safety.
Yeah.
So, all right. Wow. That got gambling and then just, a happy rule change. They've also changed the kickoff rule. They've gone to basically an XFL style rule. Before anybody complains about that, they just saved the kickoff. Kickoffs were dying. It was going to be eliminated. This now at least gives jobs and a chance for returns. I know it's not great, but the same way I talked about, and I don't want to rant, the same way I talked about, hey, that style of football is gone, guys, the kickoff is gone. It was one of the most dangerous plays of all time to begin with. This is now safer, and it still gives us some excitement.
I fully agree with you.
You have to.
It's going to look so bad.
I know.
Comparative. Like all 11 guys lined up to run down is an iconic image. And like, as a sports fan, it's hard to see that go away. But I completely understand that it's going to be safer, and I get it.
100%. Here's what we do for the Super Bowl. Everyone has to line up normal, and they have to just kick it and make it a touchback. So that's
I am fine with that. I am so fine with that.
So that is what it is. I get it. I understand. However, remember, back in the day, they used to think it was really weird when all of a sudden guys would line up at wide receiver and they would throw him the ball. And that was lots of years too. So the game changes. We're keeping it at least. Yeah. There was a chance we weren't going to have it anymore. And I would rather have it.
I get it.
All right, let's happy this thing up a little bit, okay? It's time to get to your honorary Straub Bro of the week. And as always, I make little brother go first.
All right. So it's a little different. This is straight Straub Bro of the week because it's funny. Okay. So as we saw in the tournament, FAU basketball lost to Northwestern. Their basketball coach, Dustin May, had plenty of suitors. Louisville, Michigan. There was a third team that was really in there, but it really came down to Louisville and Michigan. Now, last week, Louisville was almost certain that Dustin May was going to go to the Cardinals. How certain? They had set up and put a date on a press conference to introduce May as their new head coach. Dustin May proceeded to say to put out a formal letter that he is going to join the Michigan Wolverines as their new head coach. I am not saying haha Louisville or good job Michigan. I am just saying that this is insanely funny, and I needed to put this as my Straub Bro of the week because of how hilarious it is, because I want to feel like I have an image in my head of all the reporters in there, and then someone comes out and goes, he signed with Michigan, and then just walks out, It's the funniest image in my head, and it's amazing.
That is great. That is funny. Yeah, haha, Louisville, haha. I mean, I don't like to give daps to Michigan, but man, University of Michigan, you've been winning lately. I know your basketball team wasn't actually winning, but funny on the coach end. You guys just kind of keep winning on that one. That is funny. I mean, would you rather coach at Louisville or Michigan?
Louisville, if I'm being completely honest, they have no professional teams there, and so the entire city is in on college teams, and it's a great atmosphere. I'll give you that. And they have one of the best rivalries in the country with Kentucky.
All true. More pressure.
For sure.
You were just at FAU. Now you go to Michigan. Not saying there's not pressure at Michigan, but you don't have to win. You can be okay. You can make the tournament. You got to win at Louisville. That's why that's why they're looking for a head coach. Yep. So here we go. My Straub Bro of the week. Shirt change 1. Yes.
Oh no.
Yes. My Straub Bro of the week is Manchester United, following their 4-3 win over Liverpool in the FA Cup quarterfinal that Manchester United fans, including myself and my son, celebrated like the Champions League World Cup final combined in one. We can't. I'm just being honest, okay?
I know, and I know you were, because I got the text messages.
You got the text messages. You got the phone call. If you follow us on any social media, or if you follow me on social media, you saw it everywhere. The repost of the kid crying, the Snapchats of me and my son screaming and yelling, even though he wasn't supposed to be yelling on this 2.5 week of his tonsils being out, but he was okay. I promise, Mom. She's finding this out now because she didn't know this. I'm in trouble. But it's soccer. It's what we do, baby. It's the footy. We came back twice. One late in regular time to tie the game next to Anthony. That's what he did. It's what I did. Marcus Rashford tied the game once again in the 112th minute, just 8 minutes from the end. And then the kids, baby, off of a Liverpool corner, Garnacho took off, ball over to Ahmed Dallo. If you remember, I have been yelling for weeks that I have wanted this kid to come off the bench. And this is why, because he wins it while fasting for Ramadan as well, scores the goal, completely forgets he had a yellow. I had to rewatch the game to find the first yellow because I forgot about it. Removes his shirt, second yellow, red card, walks off, whistle blows, game over. Manchester United win. You will always walk alone to your home because you don't get to go to the FA Cup semifinal. No quadruple, whatever crap they were trying to make up, where all of a sudden now Liverpool cares about cups they didn't care about ever before. I don't want to hear it. Ha ha.
All I want to say is thank you. You avenged me for that loss in the Carabao whatever energy drink cup that no one really cares about, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
The League Cup, but go ahead.
But no, that is I was listening to the game and watching the game on my drive back to Cincinnati, and
you're not hold on, Sean, you're not welcome. Thanks for knocking them out. You're not welcome. We'll get to that in a second.
And that just means they have more time to win the league than you, Sean. That's all.
Absolutely. I have a second Straub Bro of the week.
Oh my God. It's never not multiple. I should know this by now.
Of course you should. Were we going to get to the FA Cup draw? No. Okay, so quickly, Manchester United will play Coventry. Chelsea, hi bro, will play Manchester City. If little bro could pull the upset, if big bro cannot choke it away, we have the potential for the best thing that has happened footy-wise on the show, and that would be a United Chelsea FA Cup final.
Sean, if I win this,
Sean says
I will be the most unsufferable person you have ever met in your life. I hope you know this, because this is exactly like when you beat the Yankees in the playoffs. There is nothing better. It is so sweet to do. So, listen, you are expected to win. The pressure is on you.
Yeah, not if I have anything. Listen, I get it. City is the heavy favorites. United a heavy favorite against Coventry, but this is going to be
Haji Wright masterclass incoming.
Oh, I know. It's going to be a 3-2. Listen, what I want, and listen, you get to get introduced to this as a pod because Drew feels the same way as me. I play Coventry. United States men's national team striker Haji Wright plays for Coventry. I want it to be 4-3 United with a Haji Wright hat trick, but I still win. That's what I need. Can I get to my second Straub Bro of the week, please?
Sure.
Because I don't got to change the jersey, baby. Kobe Mano. Partial MVP of that Liverpool game, absolutely bossed Liverpool's midfield. Then the 19-year-old was called up by England, 18-year-old. He is 19. I apologize. Was called up by England, his first national team cap. And yes, I saw the footage, was dominating England training as well. The future is bright for Kobe. You cannot tell me otherwise. I don't care. I don't care. So my Straub Bro of the week leads us into, I think that was a pretty nice segue. That's the footy. Let's get into the footy. The Premier League is back this week. They took a break, obviously, because of the FA Cup and because it was international break. We will get to our side on that. But as you see, Arsenal sit atop Manchester City with that game in hand. But it's a tight. We've got a title race. It's what we asked for, right?
Yes.
We've got us a proper title race.
Yes. And as you can see, for those that have been following along with the show, I have added goal differential. Now, the reason why goal differential, for those that don't know, is so important. At the end, obviously, they play the same amount of games. If two teams end with the same amount of points, it is deferred to a goal differential. And so, especially with Liverpool and Arsenal, both the same points and same amount of games played, that goal differential will be very key, as Ken knows from a certain title race a couple years ago. Just going to put that out there.
Why? That wasn't necessary, and I'm not filling the people in on that, you jerk.
When City wasn't the powerhouse it was.
No, they weren't, and then we helped them. Yeah, whatever. But hey, we've won one on like that. We've won a couple like that as well. Arsenal's goal differential is just hysterical, like hysterically good. 46 right now. And I was actually laughing at my own, just that big flat 0. If that doesn't sum up my bleeping season, I don't know what the fuck does. Okay, what do you get from Manchester? What do you get from Manchester United? You get a 3-0 win and then a 3-0 loss. That is what the hell you get out of us this year. So that 0 is great.
At least you're not Sheffield United with a negative 50 differential.
Listen, sometimes it feels like that when it's 0, so I understand. One
of the best calls. One of the best soccer calls of all time.
Don't care. Moving on. The problem is down there at the relegation. We have to talk about this. Nottingham Forest was handled a point deduction, so they now are currently sitting in the relegation zone under Luton Town. So Luton Town with a chance to escape. However, it's gonna be tight down the stretch, just at the bottom, just as it is at the top there for those couple of teams, with Everton trying to escape as well. I don't know if United has a chance to catch Spurs. Spurs aren't exactly Spursing. I don't think we have a chance to catch Villa. So, Drew, I'll lob this to you. Pre-Europa Conference League and the expansion now of possibly 5th place being, I think, a Champions League spot for England. Here comes Mr. Yeah, listen, you would deserve it.
You said it yourself.
I wasn't going to bring up Mr. 115 violations, but I was letting y'all have a moment. But since you're going to bring it up, yes, Mr. 115 violations, while other teams are getting their punishments. But we've talked about this before. But now 5th place is possibly a Champions League spot, so that does kind of change my mind. I'm only 6 points behind. 6 points behind. We both used to believe before because obviously 5th got you into Europa, but 6th didn't do anything. And me and you used to talk about being fans of bigger clubs. What was actually better, to play in the Europa League or to finish in 6th, not make that? And this is without being in the top 4. Finish in 6th so that you get to play the next season without having to play on Thursday in Europa and have a fresh squad, which is something that most teams at the top do not have.
I think it really depends on how your squad is assembled. If you have a lot of older guys, a team that, is wearing on, similar to how Liverpool was last year before they got kind of a new little blood in there, I would say that it's better to get 6th or 7th because that's a lot of wear and tear on those guys' legs that's not really needed. But if you have a younger team that needs that experience in that tournament-like setting, I would tend to go more towards Europa because let's say you're still on the up and up, then you have that tournament experience, maybe with lesser competition, but the same format, the same kind of stakes. I think that's much better. So it kind of depends. And in your case, you are very, very young. And so I think it would do you good to kind of do a Europa League kind of stint.
But it also helped, like I said, that 5th place, or is it 5th, or is it the FA Cup winner? Which one of the, or is it turned into who wins the FA Cup? Because obviously, if City win the FA Cup, that would cancel. But possibly 5th. So if it's 5th, we've got to go for it. We're 6 points back. Come on. But hey, shout out to Newcastle. At least you're in the top 10. Yep, you jumped Chelsea for now.
I got a game in hand.
Yes,
Don't you worry.
Listen, he was ready for that. He's got his game in hand. But we've got Newcastle and Chelsea there. But
that 8 through 12 is a 4-point difference. That's going to be very interesting to see how that moves.
Because it's going to be important for those teams to all finish in front of each other. Honestly, they're all going to want to. But because you're going to get to roll into what I was talking about, Chelsea's going to go into next year. You're going to have you're not going to be playing in Europe, so you're going to be able to kind of just have a full squad week in, week out, and that helps bigger clubs. Because, like I said, up until a couple weeks ago, Arsenal, Liverpool, and some are still in, but Arsenal, Liverpool, City, Villa, and United all were, and West Ham all playing in Europe, all having to run those second squads. So it does become tough. So I get you, I understand, but yeah, in my honest opinion, I don't know. If we can't get into the Champions League, I would almost be okay with bouncing all the way down so we could reset the squad and go for it. But I know guys want to play in cups and win cups, so I get it.
You just don't want to lose to a mid-table Spanish team again.
What is with y'all today? Like, for real, like damn. Like just all kinds of shots at me today when I have done nothing to y'all. So screw y'all. Okay, let's listen. Whatever. I ain't got no time for it. All right. So that was our MLS review. As you see, I'm switching over. What are we going? Are we going to it next? Are we switching?
We can switch.
All right. Or did you what else did you have for me on the EPL?
I mean, we do have a small little preview. We don't have to go. Beautiful. We don't have to go too in depth, but just to kind of look at out some of the big games to look for. Newcastle West Ham is your early game. Where am I looking at? Wolves and Aston Villa, I think, can be a little bit of a tricky game. And then down at the bottom, obviously, it's late game. Arsenal and City. Absolutely, this is I think a stretch of like 5 games that Arsenal has with 5 or 6, where 5 are top 6 teams. So this is a brutal stretch for Arsenal to see if they can hold on to their title hopes because everyone's coming.
I hate to have to do this, but I got to give City credit as well. One of the things we have talked about is that team is dangerous when they've been hit. Mm-hmm. And Liverpool punched them. What City are we going to get? What is Erling Haaland's status? Do we know?
I don't know. Last I saw was that he had an ankle injury.
Yes, but I broke that.
Don't know how. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how major the injury is.
Maybe Mr. City Sean will have that updating and throw that in the chat for us. Domination coming. Ooh, I love that. The consistent cockiness is just on brand for a current City fan. I call him a current City fan because there's just no such thing as a long-time City fan. But 115 violations in your empty head. And you don't laugh over there, Mr. Mid-Table, Mid-Club, where you belong. So I got shots for all of you now, okay? But yeah, that is a huge game. I think Arsenal have a chance, 100%, with the way they've been playing, and I think it's going to be a great game. I really, really do. That is must see.
Yes.
Unlike Burnley and Chelsea.
That's okay. We'll probably still lose 1-0.
That's all right. I mean, what is Bournemouth? Oh, Brentford. Oh, Ivan Toney, future Manchester United striker Ivan Toney. Um,
Good luck.
don't bet against us. I know.
Boo!
Here to stay as a City fan. I know you are. It'll probably be easier for all of us to get tickets to the Empty Head than it will be to get any tickets to Old Trafford or Stamford Bridge. So not that anybody wants to go to the rundown Stamford Bridge, but it's okay. All right. I told you I got shots for everybody now. You all started it. I was nice. I was in a good mood. I wasn't yelling at anybody. At least
you have a terrible stadium too. I don't even want to hear it.
I know. That's why we're rebuilding it. All right. So that's enough for the EPL. Let's switch it over. Yes, another shirt change. Your second jersey, your third shirt. It's time for some LMLS, and it's time for me to talk some absolute smack about my Galaxy. There you see the results. Only 2 draws this week. But we had some big results. I'll get one out of the way. Or here, I talk too much. You get yours out of the way. Talk to me about your results and talk to me about the Eastern Conference.
Yes, I got 2. I have 2 results this week, and both push my agenda very, very hard. The first one, I have Cincinnati 1, New York City FC 0. The strikers are still struggling to kind of adapt to the system, but Lucho Acosta is that dude. Continuing on from his MVP season, absolutely amazing, and the defense continues to be solid. Love it, love it, love it. The second one, which makes me even more happy, Charlotte FC 2, Columbus Crew 0. Just seeing Columbus lose games, especially with a massive Crew fan that continues to talk trash in our comments week in, week out, it's great to see. Just see him get humbled even a little bit. So, US can't hurt you. You sure, whatever you say, don't want to hear it. But we'll take a look at the standings here. And as you can see, right where we belong, FC Cincinnati is top of the table. Absolutely amazing. And you know what? We don't even have the most games. Inter Miami does. So that is great, with Columbus Crew sitting at a tie for second, but in 4th place due to goal differential. Things are looking up for us. But I will say, though, some surprises that I will see. One, Toronto FC finishing very poorly last year, up to 5th and a tie for second in the table right now. John Herdman absolutely turning that team around early season. And on the flip side, Orlando City, absolute great season last year, finishing 2nd, 13th in the table, only 4 points. And New England Revolution, 1 point, sitting dead last. Just not great in terms of teams that, are Orlando City, who had a really good year last year, and New England, who is usually consistently good, both having really bad starts to this year. And I know we still don't have a striker, but you know what? It's fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. Scoreboard.
Love it. I absolutely love this. That was amazing. I mean, I was gonna try to give you some love, but now you're taking so many shots at me. I don't even want to give any of you any love. I'm here to talk about the Western Conference, though. California Love, LA City, the real team in LA. Do me a favor and go ahead and throw up the Western Conference graphic for me there. Yeah. Sitting there in 2nd place, my LA Galaxy, still yet to lose a game. So let's point that out. We've got some issues on defense. I'm not going to lie. Okay. I'm not going to lie. But going forward, between Ricky Pooch and Joveljic and Peck, and then Pencil, and then Cirillo coming off the bench, or in the midfield too. In the final attacking third, you can't find me 3 better teams in the MLS.
I'll give you that.
In the back third, we might be beyond mid-table, because it's been a little bit of a struggle. So that has been tough, and it's been tough to watch, and this having to come back constantly too. They're not being sharp, but man, the thing is, we are outrunning teams in the whole last half of the game, and it's showing. But there was some other stuff. LAFC, a 5-0 win over Nashville is wild. And then I do got to give them credit, or my bad. I know I'm making you swap back and forth between graphics there, but throw back to that table for me.
Oh, Jesus.
I know. The Minnesota Wild, or Minnesota United, I almost called them the Minnesota Wild, the hockey team. I
We
apologize.
ain't playing hockey, baby.
Nope. Minnesota leading the West. That's it's great. It's a great
10
story.
points in 4 games is really good, man.
Yes, it is. I also want to give some shout out to ESPN's Joseph Lowry's rankings because he's got my Galaxy 6th, and I like that. Right under fellow rival LAFC. But I got to give some love to Ohio because the number 1 and number 2 team ranked teams on that one. Number 2, Columbus Crew. Number 1, Cincinnati.
Because we're the better Ohio team. Of course we're number 1.
Okay, shush your face. I'm the better LA team as well, but nobody cares because nobody else.
I'm fine with that.
Because LAFC doesn't have real. No, I was going to say they don't have real fans. Yes, they do. I have a question for you on the Western Conference side because I think it's the biggest story right now. Seattle Sounders, 14th.
Getting old, man. That's the issue. They have not put any new blood into this. They kind of rested. They didn't do a lot this season, and we kind of expected them just to kind of keep chugging along with the same group that they have. But yeah, man, when you Jordan Morris just doesn't look as electric as he had last season. The Roldan brothers really haven't looked great. Yeah. It's just there's not a lot of potential in that team, and that's what makes it even scarier. It's not that they're not meeting expectation, not getting to their potential yet. There wasn't high potential to begin with. There was a standard, and it's dropped, and we don't know if they're going to get back up to that standard. And so that's very scary.
We're 4 games into a season, but
yes,
is it?
I don't want to say it's too late for them to get into a playoff spot because there are definitely some teams that could drop there. Kansas City, Houston Dynamo, St. Louis really hasn't looked the same since they did last year. Real Salt Lake still. So.
I'm 2 injuries away from not being anywhere near the top of that graphic. So no, I understand.
Yeah.
Wow. So we've got history on the pod, bro. We've got a 4th shirt.
Oh my God. And I know exactly what it's for.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, one of your favorite segments of the week is a joint segment for sure, because we've got big things to talk about that stay in the footy. Yes, you see it up there. Americans abroad, United States men's national team, World Cup warm-up top assembled. Straub's already got his U.S. on. It's time for Americans abroad. The United States men's national team had 2 games. One, Nations League semifinal, but the Nations League final, we're starting with that. We're starting with the good. 2-0 is back. United States men's national team 2, Mexico 0. We own you like we have for the past couple of years. Mexico Soccer Federation, eat it and weep. We're here. A first half. I have to do it. I'm sorry. So, here I'll do it twice. A first half golazo. That's for the TikTok clip. A first half fucking golazo from Tyler Adams. Pardon my language. Okay, absolute blistering shot. That the best part was he was screaming for it and then absolutely hit it. And then I have to give little bro some stick. He was and then he was immediately subbed off because they went to halftime, and he was immediately subbed off as I said he would be. I knew that was coming. Bro, we're gonna get into what happened in the Jamaica game, but first things first, 2-0, give it to me, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, listen, no matter what happens, it always feels good to beat Mexico. Yep. It's just one of those times that, especially, you felt it more than me because, you grew up in that way, but Mexico was the country in CONCACAF, and then it was everybody else. And so to just consistently get berated by a Mexican team or a Mexico fan base because we were U.S., we were Americans, we didn't know soccer, we didn't have the culture, to consistently be favorites and beat them so convincingly is one of the most amazing feelings.
You're spoiled. You're spoiled.
A little bit, but I was definitely, especially leading up to the World Cup that we didn't qualify for, it was still a Mexican dominated
You're right.
region. So I was there. I felt it. I felt it from other fans who had been there longer. And so just to see this just revolution of, no, this is our region. Mexico, you have to catch up. It's a great, great feeling. And to come from one, an insane strike that I don't think I've ever seen Adams even do or attempt. And then two, someone who hasn't been playing a lot in Giovanni Reyna, playing, starting, and having a great performance in both games, but especially this game. It's amazing to see, and that scoreline will forever be just an absolute troll on the Mexican fans, regardless of their homophobic chants, which is unacceptable.
Yeah, the game was stopped multiple times for that. Listen, as a fan of the generation who kind of started to beat up and kind of get back these games against Mexico with the Landon Donovans and the Clinton Dempseys and the Carlos Bocanegras and Eguchi Onyewu and Timmy Howard and Kobe Jones, my favorite. I know that's a little before, but I had to throw Kobe in there because I forgot him in my LA Galaxy segment when I originally picked my teams. How can I forget Kobe Jones, my first favorite player of all time as a U.S. soccer player? But we spent many years where we could barely compete with Mexico, and then we'd get to the World Cup and it wasn't pretty. So this has been amazing to kind of have some dominance over them. Listen, this is for our little CONCACAF. We're not talking about World Cup. We're not talking even about the Copa America that's coming up either. In our little bubble right now, in our little U.S. bubble, in our little U.S. soccer bubble, dos a cero, bitch. All right, we own you for we all right, we got it. All right. Now listen, we'll see you. We'll see them in Copa, right?
I'm pretty sure they've qualified. Yeah.
Love it. Great. I want that for us too. I want the best teams in CONCACAF, us in Mexico, to be represented in Copa. It's where we should be anyways, both of us. So there's a little bit of love back to Mexico. They need to figure out what's going on their end because they've got talent. They have talent. It is just not getting put together correctly. And I wouldn't even say together correctly. There's something about this generation of American players, and I think part of it is because they grew up like you with big brothers and who are soccer fans who had to be bullied by some Mexico fans because there were plenty of games where they did own us. The Mexican player dribbling around our whole team and chipping it over Timmy Howard. But there was some bad performances that now this generation of U.S. soccer players, they're not scared of Mexico. They're not intimidated by the atmosphere. They're not intimidated by the game, and they look forward to this game now because now not only is this team winning trophies as a generation, they're getting to play against Mexico consistently in the final, and that's going to juice up any American soccer player. So that's how I feel about that. All right, let's get to it. Yeah. The semifinal against Jamaica, it wasn't all roses. A first-minute own goal that was given up. I know that it is technically it was a lot of Joe Scally was blamed for a lot of that goal. My blame to Joe Scally would be his communication skills when he swiveled his head and noticed there was two guys and he was one person. So I don't expect him to save that, but I expect him to communicate. The other thing about that is I am tired of this team getting scored on the same damn time, the same damn way, the same damn time in some of these important games. And that's one ball down into the channel that comes in, and our back and our winger are on either side is clueless to what's going on and doesn't communicate. It happened to Anton Robinson. It happens to Serginho Dest. And now it's happening to Joe Scally. I don't know if that's a lack of communication and a lack of leadership from the center back position. I'm not 100% sure if it's the wingbacks. I'll dive into the tape. I'm not joking, and I'll look more into it, but it's driving me absolutely insane that this is the consistent way to score on this team.
Yeah. And just to kind of put in this perspective, I know it was 3-1, but We had 78% possession. We had 25 shots on goal and did not score a goal ourselves until extra time. Because if you see in the 90+6, we were saved by an own goal off a corner kick. So it's just this team is very, very good when it's playing a team that's open. Like a Mexico, like some teams down in South America that play open. But maybe other than France, no team in Europe plays open like that. And so you are not going to be able to play
Welcome to the
that.
footy.
You are not able to play like that against these teams. And when we have to play a team that's either in a low or mid block, like a Jamaica or like half the teams we're going to play in the World Cup, we are dreadful, absolutely dreadful in making any movement. And some people blame the individuals here, which I guess could be somewhat understandable. If it wasn't the same coach that we've had since 2018, with 12 of the 17 players that touched that field during the game was at the World Cup. I'm sorry, but if you're going to tell me that this was an individual performance and it wasn't a team performance, that's not on the players. That's on a coach who has been with them for 5 years that hasn't been able to just make any changes or make them any sort of cohesive in the 5 years that he has been with that team for multiple stints. I'm sorry, Greg. I know we give him a lot of shit, but in this case, this is exactly what we're talking about. He does just enough in a massively weak region to show that he is somewhat competent enough to do this team, because this federation is too afraid to go and find another coach that potentially could be worse. He is safe. He makes the okay choices and he gets them just far enough where they go, well, we can't fire him. He went here. He went past the group stage. He's won trophies. This team is too talented to be where they're at right now. And it drives me up a wall.
That was a Maeve credit. Greg did something that we've been kind of critical of him not being good at, and he made some great subs.
Yeah,
he put on Haji Wright and he put on Gio Reyna, and they didn't save the game because the own goal saved the game, but they dominated extra time this extra time. Mm-hmm. Okay, this thing wasn't going to penalties. Haji Wright and Gio Reyna were like, no, hold our beers. This thing ain't going anywhere. So I'll give Greg that credit. The problem is, and this is because this is a 2-game sample. If we were just talking after the Jamaica game, we would have fired Greg 12 times. Little bro won the bet. There was a bet who would organically talk about firing Greg first. I thought I would, but I sometimes do the host gig part of this. So you got to give that part. I'm glad you took it. My problem with Greg is he treats these smaller tournaments like they are the most important thing. So then when you get to the World Cup, it's almost like these guys can't get up as much. Pause. The other thing, so you're too talented to not be beating Mexico and to not be winning trophies. The point is to look better so that when we compete against these bigger teams, Copa America is around the effing corner, we look better then. That was awful. Now, here's the thing, and I want to point this out because me and you have been critical of him, but not critical of him, but just he hasn't been playing. That proves right there. The captain's band comes off of Christian Pulisic's arm. It goes back to Tyler Adams because, Sean said, Tyler Adams is 1 on the team sheet. Okay. Yeah. He sets the tempo for this team. He is a presence there. He allows Balogun, Haji, Gio, Chris to stay upfield and play. And he does something else that I know Straub yelled at me for complaining about because I did have a couple cups. I was a little in the cups. This national team does have one problem. It has a Zlatan Cristiano Ronaldo type issue. And that is sometimes its best player, when he comes to the national team, takes on so much and tries to do so much that I see Christian Pulisic make these runs from too deep and lose the ball. Where when he lets the rest of his world-class teammates Tyler Adams plays in the Premier League. Weston McKennie plays at Juventus. Jonas Musa plays at Milan. Florian plays in the French league. Haji Wright is playing for Coventry. Let your teammates build up and let Chris do what he is one of the best at and is the best American at right now, which is carving people alive from the 18, 20 to 25 yards out. I cannot stand to see Christian Pulisic pick the ball up 30 to 35 yards out. It's not what he's great at. Now, on breakaways, that's fine. But when the play is building up, we need him to be up the field so he can go full Freddy Krueger. He can go full Jason, full Michael Myers, and slice and dice and carve people alive, because he set up the Giovanni Reina goal in the final with just an absolute amazing play from the outside, but he was closer in. And that's where Chris needs to be. And that's the quality that Tyler Adams brings in, because it then allows Weston McKennie to take a couple steps forward and be free to roam where Tyler Adams can lock in.
Yeah.
Cade York from 65, wrong footy. I mean, it was close. Cade York it could easily be a soccer name, but I mean, am I wrong, bro?
I think you are absolutely right. And I think Chris still has somewhat of a mentality of, this is 2018, this is 2019. I am the veteran on this team of 20-year-olds. I have to take on the burden. When literally the person that honestly should be taking the ball up, if we're talking about wingers, is Tim Weah. Because Tim Weah has the pace and the get around you speed to do that. But I think Chris is himself of course. But if we're talking wingers,
the amount of assist McKennie has at Juventus, and I know you're talking wingers, I get that.
Yeah.
But yes, let Serginho Dest push up the field, let Anton Robinson push up the field, and let Chris be further up. That whole side should be pushed up. We've talked about this many times, but I had to point it out because he would lose the ball. He'd get it further up the field. He'd carve somebody alive. That's where he needs to be. It's where he needs to be for this national team to succeed. So we need to get back onto Greg, and not that we're just going to beat up on Greg, but we have to talk about.
I'm okay with that.
That's fine. We need to talk about somewhat of the, and I've used this phrase too much today, but once again, the elephant in the room there. And that would be Greg's salty ass response to Jesse Marsh's questioning of bringing Gio Reyna in. That's the only way I can describe it.
You know what that is?
We're going to get to it, but hold on. Let me give the backstory. Prior, when this camp was announced, Gio Reyna was put on it. Me and Drew kind of went, oh, okay, because Reyna has not played, or he hadn't played for Forest, but he's healthy. So I think it's fair to, not to question it, but it was fair to get him some minutes if he's healthy. The only reason he's not playing at Forest is because they're in too much of a defensive struggle to keep points, so they're not playing an offensive player. So Jesse March, United States men are U.S. coach. He's coached for Leeds. He's coached for other clubs in Europe. Who has said out loud that he would coach the United States men's national team and interviewed for the United States men's national team job while Greg was on hiatus or in hold.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Hiatus is a good word for it.
Okay. He questioned why Gio Reyna was on the squad after Gio Reyna came on in extra time and helped bring the United States men's national team to a win against Jamaica. Greg had a pretty salty ass response in saying, well, I guess that's why I brought, or I guess it's fair to question why I brought Gio, blah, 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 blah. Your thoughts on the coach beef?
You know what that was? And pardon my language.
You can't have my job.
No, bitch, that's why I'm the coach. And that's why you commentating on the sideline and I'm on the touchline. I always give Greg slack, but there are some times where he pulls out something. I'm like, okay, Greg, I'm sorry. That was a good one. I'm like, Greg, fair enough.
Sometimes,
I understand.
Listen, people don't like to hear that sometimes sensitivity can be a good thing. Okay, because it can really push you sometimes.
That's Michael Jordan.
Right, exactly. Jordan was sensitive as hell. I don't care how you want to frame it, but yeah, Greg was a little salty. Okay, and was like, all right. Why did I bring Jaina? Or why did I bring Gio Reyna? That's why. Okay, it's 100% what you just said. That is 100% why. Also, it's not just a regular pundit. Just for the record, we, as for the United States men's national team, since unfortunately we lost Grant Wall, rest in peace, we really don't have many non-players as pundits. We have Charlie Davies, we have Clint Dempsey, we have
Tim Howard.
Tim Howard, we have we have other people. We have the MLS,
Alexi Lawless,
Alexi
unfortunately.
Lawless, Taylor Twellman. These are all players. Jesse Marsh is the first analyst that we're getting who is not just a coach, but a guy who could come off the booth any day because he gets snatched up to have a job. We don't have that normally. We've never had that in the U.S. Federation. So there's some tension. There's some pushback. A guy who interviewed for my job is taking shots at one of my decisions, and that decision came true. However, Greg, be easy. An own goal saved your ass. Because if you got bounced out of this tournament, everyone would have been, and I got to agree with everyone who said it, everyone would have been calling for your job.
Oh,
okay. So congratulations. 100%. Dos a cero, baby. We got a trophy. We beat Mexico, but careful.
Yes. And to end this segment, this is the last international break until Copa America. It is in June. We are going to get excited. This is basically the biggest tournament we're going to have until the World Cup. It is going to set the standard for what this team is going to look like. I am insanely excited for it. It's going to be an amazing summer of soccer.
Absolutely.
I can't wait.
This is the biggest tournament non-World Cup that we have ever been in because we're going to be tested for real.
Yes.
So that is a big thing.
And for those that don't know, Brazil is in it. Argentina and Messi are in it. For those that are a little bit more, well known, Uruguay is in it. Like massive teams that make runs in the World Cup and win World Cups are in this tournament. So to see where we go from here, that is going to be massive to see.
100%. I'm excited. And the Straub Bros Sports Show might just be in attendance for a Copa America game, but we will not be covering or live tweeting any of that. You will just see a couple photos and maybe a video at some point after. This guy, I mean, just, yeah, come on, bring it. I love it. But yeah, we're excited for Copa. And excited for everything else. What a segment of Americans Abroad. I think that's our best one ever. I got to give that one some dap and some credit there. I want to thank you all for rocking with us this week. We really appreciate it here. Commenting, lots of comments this week. Following, subscribing, rating, listening. Shout out to everybody. We've had more viewers for a live stream than we ever have. So shout out to you guys as well. It truly means the world to us. So we really appreciate it. I want to give an extra shout out. That's where I was fumbling because I wanted to do that and get my shout out to Rico of the Rulers Minute for joining us on the first half of the show, our first quarter of the show there. We've talked too long for that to be the first half. For talking to us about our NCAA brackets, men's and women's side. We had a lot of fun. Made a couple of predictions. Great show, gentlemen. We appreciate that from you, Pops. But the 216 Sports Network, that's where you can find us. Mom giving us some love too. The 216 Sports Network, that's where you can find us. You can follow and like on Facebook. You can like and subscribe on YouTube to find us and the rest of that lineup. That would be 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth, the J Rich Show, a new pod and some new and a new reel dropping for Rich. Check that out, the J Rich Show. The Rulers Minute with Rico McGee. Check that out as well. Outside Interference. Mel just dropped a new episode this past Sunday. Check that out as also. And the Straub Bros Sports Show. Big bro Ken, little bro Andrew, bringing you all of the stuff that you need on sports. Also, in terms of our show, you can find us all over social media. Obviously on the 216 Sports Network Facebook and YouTube page, but you can also find us on TikTok at the SBSS. You can find us on Twitter at Straub Bros Sports, and you can find us on Spotify. Catch up on anything that you missed. Go back and watch something. If something you had to go do something, take care of the kids, cook, do some laundry, riding in the car. Go back. You can rock with us all the way to the beginning. Catch up on anything you missed or anything that you want to go back and revisit. Mom says she likes the beard.
So thank you. I try to keep it a little light. I don't want it too heavy, but I appreciate it. Looks really good.
Also, You can follow Rico on YouTube and Twitter, or on YouTube at Rulers Minute and TikTok. That's where you can find Rico McGee. Before I throw it to Bro, I want to break a little news. Details are not finalized, but I will be in conversations. I will be tightening some things up, crossing some T's and dotting some I's. Straub Bros Sports Show, Akron FC, collision course. Yes. We will be doing something with them. It's going to be amazing. 100% of the details have not been worked out, like I said, but it is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to have a great time with it. You're going to see me at those games, maybe some interviews, maybe some dedicated shows, maybe some dedicated segments. And I don't want to say debuting next week, but debuting within a week or two, the Straub Bros Sports Show will have its first official week in sponsor, person that we give love to. It's somebody that we're going to be working on some stuff with. So we're going to just start giving them the love that they deserve now, because we want you to check this stuff out right now, because you need to right now. And so then when we get along and we keep rolling, you're familiar. You already know what's up. So that will stay tuned for that, because I wanted to debut it the correct way. So no hints, no nothing like that. But that is coming within the next week or two. We cannot wait to roll that out, and the stuff with Akron FC that we'll have more details on. But look out for that. Little Bro, anything else?
Yes, I want to thank everyone for watching. I want everyone to have an amazing week. And I know that there is no March Madness until Thursday, but there is some NIT action tonight. Shout out my Bearcats. They are playing number 1 seeded Indiana State at 9 o'clock. Go Bearcats. If you need some basketball, if you're yearning for some basketball, check that out. 9 o'clock, ESPN. It's going to be a great game. Anyways, love y'all. Let's keep going.
Listen, go Irish. Lady Irish. Let's go. Absolutely. Love you, bro.
Love you.
And as always, love yours.
City.